Hi there. Have you ever looked back and wondered if giving too much to your kids may have quietly chipped away at your own peace of mind? It's a hard question. And trust me, it's not one that comes with easy answers. As parents, especially after retirement, we often feel this strong urge to keep giving, whether it's money, time, a place to stay, or just constantly being available. It's natural. We love our children and we want the best for them. That never changes, no matter how old they or we get. But here's the thing. There comes a point where giving too much can actually take something away. Not from them, but from you. In today's video, I want to talk about a topic that's rarely discussed openly, yet it's something many people face after 60. We're going to explore a few things that, when given too freely to your adult children, can quietly erode your peace of mind, your independence, and in some cases, even your health. Not because your children are ungrateful or selfish, but because boundaries become blurry. And when that happens, it's easy to forget that you, too, deserve rest, respect, and room to breathe. Let's begin with something simple, but powerful. It starts with giving them full access to your money. Now, I'm not talking about helping with the occasional bill or gift. That's generosity, and it comes from love. But once you start regularly giving out large sums, co-signing loans, handing over debit cards, or even worse, adding their names to your bank accounts, things change. Quietly, gradually. I've heard from many retirees who say things like, "Oh, I trust my son completely," or "My daughter would never take advantage of me." And most of the time, that's probably true. But life is unpredictable. What if they hit a rough patch? What if their spouse makes financial decisions you don't know about? What if there's a divorce, or worse, a legal issue that suddenly freezes accounts that have your name on them? When your financial safety net becomes someone else's emergency fund, it's not just money at risk. It's your ability to sleep well at night, to say no without guilt, to retire with the peace you worked your whole life to earn. I once met a woman named Diane. She was 72, retired from teaching, and had always been incredibly generous with her two sons. At first, it was little things. Covering car insurance, helping with down payments, letting one of them move back home for just a few months. But eventually, she found herself paying for their rent, utilities, even groceries, every single month. She didn't say no because she didn't love them. She didn't say no because she didn't want to see them struggle. But over time, she began to feel trapped in her own home. She worried constantly about money. She even postponed a much-needed knee surgery because she didn't want to touch her savings. That's not what retirement should feel like. So here's something I encourage every retiree to do. Separate love from financial responsibility. Love is endless. Money, unfortunately, isn't. And protecting your own resources doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. Alright, let's take a breath here, and now move into the second thing you may want to think twice about giving too freely: your time. Time is just as valuable as money, maybe even more. And yet, so many older adults feel obligated to say yes to everything. Babysitting grandkids 3 or 4 times a week, running errands, cooking, cleaning, taking care of household chores for adult children who, quite frankly, should be managing those things themselves. Don't get me wrong, helping out from time to time is beautiful. It can strengthen bonds, create memories, and give you a sense of purpose. But when it becomes a full-time job, that's where things get tricky. You didn't retire to become unpaid staff. Let that sink in for a moment. Your time is precious. These years, these slow, sweet, golden years, are yours. To rest, to read, to take walks when the weather's good, to travel if you want to finally explore that hobby you kept putting off. If you find yourself constantly watching the clock for someone else's schedule, ask yourself, is this what I wanted for my retirement? I remember a man named Harold, who used to play guitar. He loved it. But after his daughter had twins, he was watching them 5 days a week while she went back to work. His days were so packed with diapers and feedings and naps that his guitar collected dust for 2 whole years. And when I asked him if he missed it, he looked down and said, "Every single day." Now, this isn't about saying no to everything. It's about making sure your yes still includes you. Which brings me to the third point I want to gently bring up, something that's a little less obvious, but deeply important. It's giving up your space, your physical, emotional, and mental space. Let's talk about what that really means in a moment. So, where were we? Yes, giving up your space. Now, this one is tricky because it doesn't always happen all at once. Sometimes it starts with a guest room becoming a temporary home for an adult child going through a rough patch. Other times, it's you moving in with them after a health scare, thinking it'll just be for a few weeks. But before you know it, you're sharing your kitchen, your quiet mornings, your favorite chair, even your decisions. And don't get me wrong, family should lean on each other. But when your space stops feeling like your space, something inside you begins to shrink. Your routines shift. Your habits bend. You start tiptoeing around your own home, trying not to get in the way. And that's not how you're supposed to live after 60. I once knew a man named Carl. He was a widower, lived in a small but cozy house that he loved, kept a garden in the back, drank tea every morning in silence, read mystery novels by the fireplace. Then his son and daughter-in-law hit a financial snag and asked to move in for just 6 months. Carl said yes, of course. He loved them. He wanted to help. But 6 months became a year, then 2. They remodeled the kitchen without asking. His quiet mornings turned into loud breakfasts. The garden? Forgotten, overgrown. And his reading chair? Replaced by a big sectional they picked out at a warehouse sale. When Carl finally told me about it, he didn't sound angry. Just tired. Like he didn't belong in his own life anymore. If that story feels familiar, I want to tell you this. It's okay to draw a line. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors that you open and close with love. And if your home is the only place you feel truly at peace, then protecting it isn't selfish. It's necessary. But space isn't just physical. It's emotional too. Sometimes we give our adult children too much access to our emotions. We carry their stress, their arguments, their burdens as if they're our own. And when they're struggling, financially, emotionally, or in their relationships, we step in, trying to fix everything. It's what parents do, right? But here's the hard truth. Your nervous system is not their emergency room. You've lived enough life. You've worried enough. After 60, your emotional health deserves protection just as much as your physical health. If every phone call leaves you anxious, if every visit feels like you're walking on eggshells, it might be time to reevaluate how much of your peace is being poured into problems that aren't yours to solve. There's a difference between being there and being consumed. And the line between the two is your emotional boundary. Now let me tell you something that may sound odd, but stay with me. Sometimes, too much involvement steals growth from your children. I once spoke to a woman named Marcia, 68 years old, full of life, sharp as a tack. Her daughter called her every day, sometimes 5 or 6 times a day. At first, it felt sweet, like they were close. But slowly, Marcia began to realize that her daughter was outsourcing every decision to her. What to cook, whether to switch jobs, how to discipline the kids, when to book a dentist appointment, it never ended. Marcia told me, "I don't mind helping, but I feel like I'm still parenting a 38-year-old. And here's the thing, when we constantly step in to guide, advise, or rescue, we unintentionally stop our kids from figuring things out on their own. We rob them of resilience. And at the same time, we stretch ourselves too thin, emotionally, mentally, even physically. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you went an entire day thinking only about yourself? Not what your son is going through. Not your daughter's work stress. Not the grandkid's school schedule. Just you. Your body. Your joy. Your needs. If you can't remember, maybe it's time to shift that balance. This brings me to something that may sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful things you can stop giving away so freely, your automatic yes. After a lifetime of saying yes, to work, to kids, to spouses, it becomes second nature. Even when you're tired. Even when you'd rather not. Even when your body, your mind, and your heart are all whispering, "No, not today." And yet, yes keeps slipping out. Yes, I'll drive you to the airport. Yes, I'll take the kids again tomorrow. Yes, you can use my credit card this one last time. But every yes to someone else is a maybe later to yourself. And isn't it time, finally, for your life to stop being postponed? Saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're choosing to care for yourself first. And you've earned that. After decades of pouring into others, it's okay to pour into your own cup. In fact, it's more than okay, it's necessary. So next time a request comes your way, take a breath. Ask yourself, does this feel right for me? Not for your guilt, not for their expectations, but for you. And if the answer is no, say it. Gently, kindly, clearly. Because guess what? You're not just allowed to protect your peace, you're entitled to it. Now, I know this isn't always easy. Family dynamics can be complicated. Emotions run deep. And for many of us, the idea of pulling back feels unnatural, even painful. But what if I told you that choosing peace doesn't mean losing love? What if boundaries could actually make relationships better, not worse? Let's sit with that thought for a moment. Because next, I want to talk about something most people don't expect to be part of this conversation, but it might be the most important one yet. You see, when we talk about what not to give our children in retirement, most people think of the obvious things: money, space, time. But there's one thing that often gets overlooked. And yet, it's the one that can quietly drain your joy more than anything else. Control over your choices. It doesn't always start with a command or an argument. Sometimes, it's just a suggestion wrapped in concern. Dad, maybe you shouldn't be driving anymore. Mom, are you sure you should still live alone? You really don't need to go on that trip at your age. And sure, these comments may come from a place of love. But over time, they begin to chip away at something essential: your independence, your dignity, your right to make decisions for your own life. I once met a woman named Irene. She was 73, sharp-minded, full of personality, loved painting, hiking, and solo travel. But after a minor fall in the bathroom, just a slip, nothing broken, her daughter insisted she stop living alone. Insisted she sell her car. Took over her banking for safety. And within 6 months, Irene felt like a guest in her own life. She told me, I didn't retire to become invisible. And that hit me hard. Because that's the danger when we give up our choices too easily. We start disappearing little by little, even while we're still alive. So here's the truth, as gently as I can put it. You are still the author of your story. Yes, listen to advice. Yes, stay open to input. But never hand over the pen. Never let someone else write your ending out of fear, or guilt, or pressure. Because your instincts, your wisdom, and your desires, they still matter. Deeply. Now I'm not saying you should go skydiving tomorrow just to prove a point, unless you want to, in which case, go for it and send us a picture. But I am saying, don't stop choosing for yourself. Don't stop exploring or dreaming, or trying new things just because someone else thinks you've done enough. This stage of life isn't the end of the road, it's a wide open path. And you get to walk it however you please. That brings me to something else that's incredibly important. Don't give up your friendships. It's so easy to let relationships with friends fade as we age. We get busy or tired. The phone calls get fewer. The outings feel harder to plan. And when we have kids and grandkids needing our attention, we often push our social lives to the side. But here's the thing. Friendships nourish a part of us that family can't always reach. With friends, you can laugh without explaining. Share stories without filtering. Be your full self, not just mom or grandma or dad. And after a lifetime of being responsible for everyone else, sometimes you just need someone who sees you. I met a man named Frank once at a coffee shop in a small town. He was in his late 60s, recently retired, and confessed that he hadn't seen any of his old friends in years. When I asked why, he said, I guess I just didn't think they needed me anymore. But maybe you need them. Your children will always be your children, yes. But that doesn't mean they can or should be your only social circle. There's joy in laughing with someone your own age, in reminiscing, in just sitting silently together without pressure. Don't give that up. Don't hand over your time so fully to your kids that you forget how much your soul craves connection outside of them. Rekindle those friendships. Call that old friend. Join a walking group. Go to that community art class. Don't wait for an invitation. Be the invitation. Because protecting your peace doesn't mean pushing people away. It means expanding your circle in a way that feeds your spirit, And now, I want to touch on one more thing. It's subtle. It hides in plain sight. And if you're not careful, it can quietly run your entire retirement. The guilt. Guilt for saying no. Guilt for setting boundaries. Guilt for spending money on yourself instead of giving it to your kids. Guilt for enjoying your time when they're struggling. Guilt for moving on, for living fully, for choosing joy. And I want you to hear me clearly, you don't owe anyone your suffering. You have loved. You have sacrificed. You have given so much of yourself over the years, and that love was real and beautiful and enough. You don't have to keep proving it through pain or self-denial. You can love your children and still say, "Not today." You can love your grandchildren and still go on that cruise. You can love your family and still protect your finances, your space, your time, and your heart. Let that guilt go. Guilt will whisper, "You're selfish." But wisdom will say, "You're choosing peace." Trust the wisdom. And if someone tries to make you feel bad for living your life fully, that says more about them than it does about you. So, as we wrap this up, here's what I want you to carry with you. You have every right to shape your retirement around what brings you joy. Not just around what your family wants or expects. It's not about turning your back on your children. It's about turning toward yourself with the same compassion you've shown them for decades. Your peace matters. Your voice matters. And it's never too late to reclaim them both. If this message resonated with you in any way, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Maybe share a time you had to set a boundary, or a moment when you realized your yes had become too automatic. Your story could inspire someone else who's struggling right now. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like. It really helps others find this kind of content. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. We talk about life after 60 in ways that honor your experience, your wisdom, and your right to live well. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself. You've earned every bit of peace that comes your way.